If you spend more than 5 hours a week learning, researching, or creating, it's fair to assume that you care about your knowledge. So in this video, I want to share with you the one decision that you need to take that will define if you make or break your knowledge efforts. Let's check it out. There is one decision that makes a huge impact on how our knowledge efforts work in the long time, and most of the time we are not conscious that we are making that decision. And the decision is, do you treat your knowledge as a hobby or as a practice? So let's just see the difference between those two. So there are three aspects that we can look at to identify if you are treating our knowledge as a hobby or as a practice, okay? And the first one is how we allocate our time. And I don't mean how much time we give, okay, to dedicate to growing our knowledge, acquiring new knowledge, growing our ideas. It's more about how we look at it. Because when we treat it as a hobby, it's something that we do in our free time, okay? We just have some free time, we want to do something that we enjoy, and then we may read something, reflect about something, and that's what we do. And as life gets busy, and life always gets busy, right? We tend to abandon it, okay? We always say, I want to do it, I want to study this, I want to learn that, I want to become an expert on this, I want to write this. And we don't do it because we're just doing our free time, and free time doesn't come so easily nowadays, okay? So that's when we treat our knowledge as a hobby. And on the other hand, when we do it as a practice, we don't engage when we have free time. We make time for it. So imagine someone running a marathon. If they want to do a marathon, they need to practice, okay? They need to practice over time, so you need to make time for your knowledge. It's something that you either put in your calendar, or create a habit, or extend a little bit some other activity to add your knowledge practice into that time. So we don't just do it in our free time, we make time for it, okay? So the second aspect that you can compare is that when you treat knowledge as a hobby, we don't fully engage with it, okay? We're just like, okay, we have free time, we just want to pass the time by doing an activity, but we don't fully engage, we don't go deep in the activity. So what usually happens, let's say we read something, we have many thoughts, and we never write them down, okay? Our knowledge only exists inside of our minds and bodies, okay? And if you don't write it down, if you don't express in some way, you record a video, you write, you record an audio, or whatever, your knowledge is only inside you, okay? It's hard to think and remember everything that you know at the same time. So when you're not deeply engaged with it, you're just reading something, maybe highlight, copying other people's words, but your knowledge is still nowhere to be seen, okay? You don't have ways to improve that knowledge. You're just let it go, think about something, let it go. It's more for passing the time rather than investing on it, okay? So that's when you treat knowledge as a hobby. You have highlights, you have many things that you have read, and that's it, okay? You only have other people's words in there. You have other people's knowledge, but not really your knowledge that you acquired by reading what other people have said. And on the other hand, when you treat knowledge as a practice, is when you start creating systems that support your knowledge. How can you grow your knowledge? How can you improve your self-expression? How you can organize your thoughts and your ideas in a way that is coherent, that you can communicate to others? And how can you grow those ideas, okay? How can you come up with new things for your own experience, your own observations, your own things that you have read and learned across your entire life, okay? So when you treat knowledge as a practice, you need to see, how can I create a structure for myself that supports me in thinking, reflecting, okay? Doesn't need to be anything complex, just needs to be something that supports you. And in that case, I like to think about three things, which are the mindsets. What are the mindsets that are blocking your self-expression? Sometimes we're like, oh, I want to think about something, but later. You feel that procrastination. What are the things that are blocking you, okay? The knowledge that you want to acquire or to grow, okay? And then what are the methods? What are the things that you can actually do, the activities you can actually engage with that can support your knowledge process, okay? And then the last one, what are the tools that are available that can make your process a little bit easier, more effective, and you can enjoy as well. So knowledge as a hobby, just passing time. You are doing an activity, you're not thinking much how good that is, what's the output, what will come out of that. And knowledge as a practice, you are building your knowledge and your skills over time. How can you deal with your own knowledge? How can you express better what you have in your mind, okay? You're putting effort in building a system that works for you, okay? What works for another person may not work for you, but that's the idea, okay? And then the third aspect that you can use to separate knowledge as a hobby and knowledge as a practice is the idea of consistency, okay? So when I'm doing knowledge as a hobby, we are thinking about the fun, okay? Will it be fun before I started engaging with it? And we think, maybe not. We just don't engage at all and we don't improve our knowledge and all those things. But when you think about knowledge as a practice, it's not about the fun, it's about the joy, okay? And I like to use an analogy of sports again. Let's say someone wants to practice a sport or maybe go to the gym. Sometimes you're lazy, we're like, oh no, today is a bit cold, I'm not sure I want to go. So we have multiple reasons to not go. But when you're committed to it, you say, okay, I will go even if I don't feel like, I don't think it'll be very nice. We know that after we start the practice, we start to feel the joy of the practice, we enjoy the energy that it brings, and also the results that the practice brings. So we know that. So by knowing that, say, okay, I will do the practice even if I don't feel much like it. Provided, of course, that you create the systems that will make that practice joyful. If it's just like going there and not knowing what to do, it may not have the same result, okay? So knowledge as a hobby, we think, will it be fun beforehand? And knowledge as a practice is about the joy of doing it. So it's not about the passion or the obsession, but it's about the commitment to it. So that's the main decision that you need to make if you really want to grow your knowledge efforts. Will you treat your knowledge as a hobby, where it's just about in your free time, just not engaging really with it and just doing when you think it will be fun? Or you want to treat your knowledge as a practice that grows over time, where you need to make time for it, think about how can I make the practice better, more efficient, and that you treat it as a way to get joyful interaction with your knowledge. Not just about fun, but how can you get the joy of the process, okay? So now that we know the difference, how can we start today changing from knowledge as a hobby into knowledge as a practice? You know the 3 steps already. Make time for it, create systems that work for you, and then build consistency. But I know that the process is not as trivial as just talking about it. So I would like to invite you to join us for the 100 days note-taking challenge, where you go to the very basics of just starting expressing your own knowledge over time and build the consistency, okay? So if you want to learn more, just go into the description of this video and you have all the information there. It's free, and our goal is that you build your practice by dedicating just 15 minutes a day until the end of 2024, okay? So let's take the last 100 days of the year to start your note-taking practice, where you can start expressing your own knowledge. So if you are serious about your knowledge, that's the one decision that you need to make. Will you treat your knowledge as a hobby or as a practice? So let me know in the comments what is it that you do next and which one you have chosen. And I see you in the next video.